My name is Celia Kumar, and I'm 32 years old. 3 years ago, I signed a lease that felt like a handshake with a new life. Exposed brick that glowed like embers at sunset, windows that woke before I did, a kitchen I'd taught myself to honor with food and silence. Tonight, that silence broke in half. Riverside Holdings emailed my renewal. I clicked through the PDF with a half smile. Same rent, same unit. Then my heart jammed in my throat. Under occupants, a second line waited like a smirk. Co-tenant, Rebecca Thompson. Rebecca, my older sister. I read it again, then again, the way you press a bruise to see if it's still there. Rebecca works in Riverside's leasing department. She was the one who helped me find this place back then, greasing a deposit a little as an employee referral. But she didn't live here. She has her own condo across town, or had. I called the office. The receptionist put me on hold long enough for a full song and an ad to play on my brain radio. When she returned, her voice carried that fragile tone people use when they know a bomb is on the table. Everything looks correct in our system, Ms. Kumar. How can it be correct, I asked, when I live alone? Ms. Thompson submitted the documentation, approved by management. What documentation? I'm not at liberty to discuss internal processing. You'll need to speak with Patricia, the leasing manager, Monday. It was Thursday. Too many hours for panic to ferment. I called Rebecca. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "Why is your name on my lease?" Minutes later, "Don't worry about it. I'll explain later. It's just admin stuff." Admin stuff? My home is not a spreadsheet. By evening, I was in my coat, keys clenched like teeth. Rebecca's condo parking spot was empty. Lights off. No answer at the door. My breath made a fog on the peephole and left nothing behind. Ethan called as I sat in my car. "You sound like you're underwater," he said. My boyfriend has a chess player's voice. Patient, strategic. Rebecca added herself to my lease. "You're kidding." "I wish." "Do nothing tonight," he said. "Sleep. Tomorrow you go there in person. Stay calm. Ask for Patricia." Ethan always offers the safest move. I used to think that meant love. Tonight, it just sounded like distance. Friday morning, I walked into Riverside's lobby with my spine braced in sarcasm. The receptionist recognized me and looked away so quickly it felt rehearsed. 10 minutes of waiting earned me Patricia. 50s, careful hair, a gold watch that blinked more than she did. "Ms. Kumar," she said, "I understand you have questions." "I have answers," I said, "but none of them match your file. My sister is listed as a co-tenant without my consent." Patricia scrolled through a tablet like she was dusting a crime scene. "The co-tenancy addition was processed through the proper channels. We have signed consent." "From whom?" "From you." I started laughing. It sounded like a wrong note on a piano. "Show me." "I'm not at liberty to share internal documents." "You can't even show me my own signature?" Her lips thinned. "If you believe there was impropriety, you may submit a formal complaint." "And while I do that, you give my sister keys?" "Ms. Thompson is a valued employee. We have found her to be thoroughly professional." There it was, the subtext so loud it became text. "We trust our employee more than you," the woman bleeding in reception. I left with my pulse drumming in my ears. In the elevator, I pressed the emergency stop just to steal 5 seconds of stillness. When the car started again, I was already dialing James. James isn't just a friend. He's a lawyer who likes people more than laws, which is rare for both species. He paged through the emailed renewal, then whistled. "Celia, there's a co-tenancy consent form, and that signature is meant to be yours." "It's not." "I know what you sound like when you lie," he said gently. "You don't sound like that." "Can I prove it?" "Maybe, probably messy, handwriting experts, chain of custody, who had access to files. And she works there, if they rally around her. They already did. Your safest option is to refuse the renewal and walk." "I love my apartment." "Loving a burning building won't make it cooler," he said. That night, Rebecca finally called, the way storms finally break. "Celia, I know you're upset, but trust me, okay? This helps me for a few months. I won't move in. It's a paperwork thing." "Is the paperwork the part where you forged my name?" Silence, then don't be dramatic. "You committed fraud." "I processed forms. If something was wrong, our system would have flagged it." "Take your name off my lease or I go to your boss and the police." "You wouldn't dare," she said, all veneer gone. "You have no proof." I said nothing. Sometimes nothing is a mirror, and people hate what they see in it. After we hung up, I stood in my living room and tried to memorize it, in case memory was all I'd get to keep. The way light slides off the counter, the ridge in the floorboard near the balcony. The plant, Ethan says, is thriving out of spite. It felt like standing over a sleeping child while a stranger fingers the doorknob. When Ethan came over, I told him everything again, but slower, not for his sake, for mine. Saying it out loud sorted my panic into drawers. "Don't sign," he said. "Worst case, you move. You can stay with me while you look." "And reward her for breaking the rules?" "Reward yourself for surviving them." I should have said thank you. I should have folded into his offered harbor. Instead, I heard my own voice harden. "This is my home." He lifted his hands, truce. "Then fight, but fight clever." At 2 a.m., my phone lit my bedroom like a confession booth. A text from an unknown number. "Deadlines matter, Ms. Kumar. Renew or vacate." No signature, just a screenshot of the lease page with Rebecca's name glowing like a wound. I stared until the letters blurred. Sometimes fear doesn't make you scream. It makes you very, very quiet. Saturday, I installed a new lock on my bedroom door, the metal bite of it like a vow. Sunday, I made copies of every document that ever had my name on it, birth certificate, passport, old leases, and hid them in places I would forget unless I wrote them down. I wrote them down. On Monday, I took the only thing I still had, the story itself. I drafted a complaint to corporate I didn't believe would help, but I needed a record that I had tried. I sent James a copy. I CC'd myself from another email and printed the confirmation. Paper cuts are proof. Patricia didn't respond. Rebecca didn't respond. The building hummed like nothing had happened. On Wednesday, something did. A suitcase scraped my hallway. My peephole filled with my sister's face, calm and brittle in equal measure. She knocked once like a judge. When I opened the door, she smiled a little. "You'll want to see this email," she said, holding up her phone. "Effective yesterday, I'm an approved co-tenant. Whether you sign or not, I have legal occupancies for the next 30 days. She edged the suitcase forward with her foot. "So, shall we discuss where I'll put my desk?" Behind my ribs, something cold unspooled. Fear or fury, I couldn't tell. They feel the same at first. I stepped aside because the law said I had to, but I didn't step back. "Temporary," she chirped, rolling past. 2 months tops. "That's what infections say," I murmured, too soft for her to hear. She picked the office. She moved my desk against the wall like she was repainting my spine. In the kitchen, she set a glass on the counter without a coaster. Small vandalism to announce the larger kind. "Don't worry, Celia," she said, rinsing her hands as if they had ever been clean. "It's just paperwork." I watched the water go down the sink and thought about drowning. Outside, the street went on being a street. Inside, my life had a new tenant. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound, the creak of a pipe, the hum of the fridge, felt like an intrusion. I could hear Rebecca breathing in the next room, steady, unbothered, as if she'd lived here her entire life. By morning, she was already in my kitchen, making coffee with my beans, in my mug. "Morning," she said, as if we were roommates. I didn't answer. My tongue felt too heavy to use. "I hope you don't mind," she continued. "I have a few things being delivered this week. Small stuff, just files, some clothes." "Delivered where?" She looked genuinely puzzled. "Here, of course. It's my mailing address now." I almost laughed. Almost. "Rebecca, you realize this isn't legal." "Actually," she said, spinning her phone toward me, "it is." On her screen was an email from Patricia, formal, corporate, deadly. Per company records, Ms. Rebecca Thompson is listed as an approved co-tenant of Unit 4B, effective immediately. The word effective hit me like a verdict. Ethan called right as I felt my throat closing. "She moved in," I said. He exhaled slowly. "You need to get out of there, Celia. She's dragging you into something." "She says it's temporary. That's what people say when they plan to stay forever." I looked around my apartment. Our apartment, as she now called it. Rebecca's suitcase sat open on the office floor, her clothes already spilling out. I could smell her perfume mixing with the lemon cleaner I'd used that morning, an awful blend of ownership and violation. For 2 days, I kept to myself. I worked remotely, door locked. But every time I walked to the kitchen, something new of hers appeared. A framed photo, a charger, a new toothbrush beside mine. It was like watching mold grow, slow, invisible, until suddenly everywhere. When she finally decided to talk, she did it over takeout. "I owe people money," she said casually, picking at a spring roll. "What people?" "Private lenders." I froze. "As in, loan sharks?" "They're not sharks," she said defensively. "They just don't accept payment plans. I felt the air go thin. And you thought moving here would fix that? It's safer here. They don't know this address. I just need to lay low for a few months. Lay low, in my apartment, under my name. That night, I changed the lock on my bedroom door. I didn't tell her. I didn't have to. She tried it once, and the metallic click said everything I couldn't. Days blurred. Rebecca left early, came home late. Sometimes I'd hear her laughing on the phone, sometimes crying. Once, when I went to the kitchen for water, I saw her sitting on the floor, surrounded by envelopes, bills, statements, red notices. She shoved them into a drawer when she noticed me. Work stuff, she muttered. Then, one Friday, things shifted. I was heading out for groceries when I noticed two men in suits waiting in the lobby. They looked like businessmen, except for the way their eyes followed every movement. Ms. Kumar, one asked. Yes? We're looking for Rebecca Thompson. Does she live here? No, I said too quickly. I live here alone. They exchanged looks. The taller one pulled out his phone and showed me a photo, Rebecca's dating profile. The picture was taken in my living room, the same brick wall behind her. My blood ran cold. Nice apartment, the man said. We'll be in touch. When Rebecca came home that night, I was waiting in the living room. They found you, I said quietly. Her face drained of color. Who? Two men. They had your picture. What did you tell them? That you don't live here. She exhaled, then whispered. You shouldn't have said that. What are you talking about? If they think I don't live here, they'll keep asking questions. It's safer if I seem settled. Safer for who, Rebecca? You or me? She didn't answer. Just walked to the office and shut the door. That night I messaged James, my lawyer friend. They came looking for her. She owes money. She's officially on the lease. What do I do? He replied, document everything. Don't touch her mail. Don't throw her out by force. You'd risk being accused of harassment. When I told Ethan, he sounded torn between worry and fury. You need to stay somewhere else, he said. Come stay with me. I can't. If I leave, she wins. This isn't a game, Celia. This is survival. The next morning, as I made coffee, I found her mail in my stack again. New accounts, credit cards, even a bank statement. You said you'd stay temporarily, I snapped. Why are you setting up your life here? Relax, she said, stirring her coffee. It's just for mail forwarding. Forwarding doesn't mean creating new accounts. What are you doing? She looked up, eyes flashing. Handling my business. You handle yours. Something broke inside me then, not loud, but final, like glass cracking under weight. Later that evening, Ethan texted me. Savannah called me. I frowned. Savannah? His ex. The one who still accidentally liked his posts. She said you sounded unstable when you called her last week. My jaw tightened. I didn't call her. That's what I thought. But she swore she heard your voice on voicemail. Rebecca was in the hallway when I read that text. I looked up just in time to see her smirk, like she'd overheard. I felt my stomach twist. Was she trying to wreck my relationship too? I wanted to confront her, but instead I just stared at her and said, You know, Rebecca, you're really good at making people doubt themselves. She tilted her head, smiling faintly. It's a family trait, isn't it? That night, I locked my door again and slept with my phone recording audio, just in case. The next morning, I woke to the faint click of my doorknob, then silence. When I opened my bedroom door the next morning, Rebecca was already gone. Her mug sat in the sink, lipstick smeared on the rim like evidence. I checked the doorknob, scratch marks near the latch. She'd tried to get in. That was the morning I stopped pretending this was just a family problem. I started documenting everything. Photos, timestamps, voice memos. James said it was the smartest thing I could do. He was right. Every little piece of proof was a small island of control in a sea of chaos. The mail situation worsened. One envelope addressed to Rebecca Thompson, two to Ms. R. Kumar, and one to me, except it wasn't. Inside was a pre-approved credit card offer, already filled with my personal information. She was using my details. I confronted her that night. I know what you're doing. Her fork froze midair. Doing what? You used my name, my information. You're opening credit lines. Relax, she said, rolling her eyes. I didn't use them. I just needed backup cards. You'll never even notice. I've already noticed. Then maybe you should be flattered. I trust you more than anyone. Rebecca, this is identity theft, she smirked. Big words for little problems. I walked out before I did something I'd regret. I called Ethan. No answer. Then I remembered Savannah, his ex, had accidentally left her number on his coffee table last week. Rebecca's smirk replayed in my mind. Was she behind that voicemail? Was she mimicking my voice? She worked in leasing. She knew signatures, paperwork, access. Who's to say she couldn't mimic me somewhere else, too? That night, I changed all my passwords and froze my credit reports. I opened a P.O. box. I even installed a small camera in my bedroom, facing my filing cabinet, the one that held my documents, my last bit of sanity. The next week, she upped the invasion. She started hosting guests, men in polished shoes and cologne too sharp for morning. Friends from work, she said, laughing too loudly. I recognized one. He'd been in the lobby with the other man that day. They were lenders. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. I can't just disappear on them. That would make it worse. So instead, you bring them here. Celia, she said, her tone softening dangerously. You're safe. They'd never hurt you. But that night, when a car idled outside for an hour and headlights cut through my blinds, I didn't feel safe at all. The next morning, I found my filing cabinet open. The lock snapped. My passport and birth certificate gone. When I confronted her, she gave me that same syrupy calm that had always made me want to scream. I borrowed them. For what? I needed documentation for something personal. Did you open accounts in my name again? I said it's personal. My hands were shaking. Rebecca, this is the last warning. You leave or I call the police. She looked at me like I was a child throwing a tantrum. And tell them what? That your legal co-tenant borrowed some papers? You'll sound insane. That's when I realized she'd rehearsed this. Every move, every loophole. She knew exactly how far she could go without crossing the line that made her arrestable. That night, I emailed James everything. The photos, the emails, the screenshots of her mail, the forged applications. His reply came fast. Keep documenting. Do not engage further. We're building a pattern. But patterns don't stop danger. A week later, the same men appeared in the lobby again. I tried to slip past, but one called out. Miss Kumar, my name, sharp as a blade. Still haven't heard from Rebecca. You sure she doesn't live here? I told you before, I live alone. The taller one smiled slightly. You're sure? He held up a photo. Rebecca again, this time on a dating profile, sitting on my couch, same brick wall, same throw pillows. My chest tightened. She's been creative, I managed to say. He nodded, slipped me a business card. Financial Recovery Services. Call us if she comes home. It'll be better for both of you. When I went upstairs, Rebecca was waiting by the door, watching me. Did you tell them anything? No. You're lying. You're paranoid. She stared for a long time, then smiled. You used to be such a nice little sister. What happened? You did, I said. That night, she started playing music loud enough to rattle the walls, some twisted performance of normalcy. I hid in my locked room, headphones in, heart pounding. The next morning, a package arrived addressed to Ms. R. Kumar. I opened it. Inside, jewelry boxes, a new iPhone, designer shoes, receipts listing my address for billing. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was building a life using me. By the weekend, she'd thrown out my blender, rearranged the living room, and replaced the art on the walls. Just redecorating, she said with a grin. I couldn't take it anymore. I started looking for a new apartment, but everything decent was full, expensive, or both. Ethan offered again. Come stay with me. But pride is a strange poison. It convinces you that leaving means losing. Then, on Monday morning, I came home from a walk and froze at the door. The lock was broken. The door cracked open. Inside, the apartment was chaos. Furniture overturned, drawers emptied, couch cushions slashed. Rebecca sat in the middle of the mess. Mascara streaked down her cheeks. They came while I was gone, she whispered. They said they were maintenance. Gary let them in. I looked around. What were they looking for? Money, assets, anything valuable. Her eyes met mine, wide, terrified. Celia, I'm in trouble. Serious trouble. How much? I asked. 40,000. My knees almost gave out. 40? What did you do? I thought I could triple it. Crypto. It was supposed to be a sure thing. There's no such thing, I said quietly. She nodded, crying now. I know that now. But all I could think was, you brought danger into my home. That night, I packed a small bag and went to stay with Ethan. He didn't say I told you so. He just held me until I fell asleep. In the morning, I filed a police report. They took notes, uninterested. So, your sister, who lives with you, Owes private lenders money. And they broke in, the officer said flatly. She doesn't live with me. She forged her way onto the lease. But she's on the lease? Yes, but then she lives with you, ma'am. And that was it. My emergency became a domestic dispute. I left the station with shaking hands. The world felt upside down, where the guilty thrived and the victim needed permission to be believed. When I got home, Rebecca was cooking, like nothing had happened. I stared at her, this woman who shared my blood but none of my conscience. She looked up, smiled faintly, and said, "You didn't bring milk, did you?" That was the moment I decided this would end, whatever it took. After that night, I stopped pretending I could fix this with calm words or polite emails. I needed proof, something solid enough to make everyone else see the monster I was living with. So I hired a private investigator. It cost almost $2,000 I didn't have, but fear has a way of making too expensive sound like worth it. His name was Nolan. He looked like someone who'd stopped trusting people years ago but still liked watching them tell on themselves. I gave him everything: Patricia's emails, Rebecca's fake co-tenant paperwork, photos of the ransacked apartment, and a copy of the forged consent form. "I'll find what's real," he said. While he worked, I went back to staying at Ethan's. It should have been comforting, but something between us had changed. I'd grown quieter, heavier. He'd grown impatient. His text turned clipped, his affection replaced by worry that sounded like orders. "Celia, you're obsessed with this," he said one night. "I'm protecting myself." He sighed. "Sometimes protecting turns into punishment." I turned away. "Then maybe you should ask yourself who I'm punishing." The next day, Nolan called. His voice was sharp, excited. "You were right," he said. "Your sister forged everything, and not just for your lease. She's done this before." My throat tightened. Before? 3 other tenants in the same building. She added herself to their leases too, sometimes under aliases. She's been using them to collect mail, build fake identities, apply for loans, credit lines. Classic document layering. I gripped the phone. "Can you prove it?" "Absolutely. I even found a notarized consent form where the notary's commission expired 3 years ago." I laughed, the kind that hurts. "She really doesn't stop, does she?" "She's smart," Nolan said, "but not smarter than paper trails." That night, Rebecca came home earlier than usual. She looked tired, like someone running out of lies. "You had someone following me," she said flatly. I didn't deny it. "I had to." Her voice cracked, just enough to sound human. "You think I wanted this, Celia? I'm drowning. You're supposed to help me, not hand me to the sharks." "I tried helping you," I said, 3 months ago, when you could have walked away clean. Now you've made it a crime scene." She turned to leave, then paused. "You don't understand what's coming." The way she said it made my skin crawl. I recorded her after that. Audio, video, everything. I wanted her voice on record, her face when she lied. So when she barged into my room 2 nights later, I was ready. She'd been drinking, her eyes glassy, her tone half apology, half threat. "I need $300, she slurred. "For what?" "An emergency." I kept my phone on the nightstand, recording. "No." She took a step closer. "Don't do this. You know what happens if I can't pay them." "What happens is none of my business anymore." "I'm your sister." "No," I said quietly. "You're someone who used that word to get away with everything." Her gaze flicked to my wallet on the dresser. She reached for it. Reflex took over. I grabbed my phone and hit record again. "What the hell are you doing in my room?" I said loudly. "I told you, I need the money. You forged my signature to get on this lease, didn't you?" She froze. "Answer me, Rebecca." "You're recording me?" she snapped. "Just answer." She stared into the camera and smiled, defiant. "Prove it." That tiny smirk was all I needed. The next morning, I sent everything to Riverside Holdings' corporate office. Not Patricia, not anyone local. I attached Nolan's report, the fake documents, and the recording where Rebecca practically admitted guilt. For 3 days, silence. Then, on the 4th, an email. "Thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. An internal review is underway. Please refrain from further communication with Ms. Thompson during this process." I didn't tell Rebecca. I wanted her to walk into her own trap. On Friday, Nolan texted, "They're pulling her in for questioning. Corporate audit's active. You did it, Celia." That night, I came home early from Ethan's. Rebecca was packing. Boxes half full, clothes piled like surrender flags. They fired me, she said quietly. 6 years. Gone. You earned it, I said. Her head jerked up. You don't get it. This wasn't just me. Everyone does it there. Little favors, quiet approvals. I just pushed farther. You forged my name. I was desperate. You were greedy. She stared at me, eyes burning. You think you're better than me because you caught me? You're not. You just had the luxury of never needing to cheat. Maybe, I said softly, or maybe I just learned when to stop. When she left, she slammed the door so hard it rattled the glass. The silence afterward felt like a new kind of sound, empty but clean. 2 days later, corporate sent a settlement email. The co-tenancy addition has been voided. Ms. Thompson's association with the company has been terminated. You will receive 3 months of rent credit as compensation. We appreciate your discretion in avoiding legal escalation. I forwarded it to James. He replied within minutes. This is victory. Take it. It should have felt like relief. Instead, I sat on the couch, my couch, and waited for the feeling to arrive. When Ethan came over with a bottle of wine, I thought I might finally breathe again. But the moment he hugged me, I felt the tremor in my hands. She's gone, I whispered. Good, he said. But I didn't believe it. Not yet. Because when I checked my phone later that night, there was a new message waiting. You think you've won, Celia? You just made powerful enemies. No name, but I didn't need one. Rebecca wasn't done. Not yet. I didn't sleep that night. The message kept replaying in my mind like static. You just made powerful enemies. By sunrise, I'd already changed my locks again. Called James and forwarded him the anonymous text. He told me to stay calm, that it was likely a bluff, standard intimidation tactic from someone who's lost control. But when someone like Rebecca loses control, that's when she becomes dangerous. 3 days later, Riverside Holdings' corporate office called me directly. A woman named Marianne Cole, head of compliance, wanted to close the matter amicably. Her tone was polished steel. Ms. Kumar, we deeply regret the distress caused by Ms. Thompson's actions, she said. Our internal audit confirmed multiple fraudulent additions to tenant leases. We've voided them all, including yours. So, she's officially gone? I asked. Effective immediately, Marianne replied. And Ms. Thompson has been terminated. The company will offer you a 3-month rent credit in exchange for your cooperation. I let the silence hang just long enough for her to understand how much those words meant to me. Cooperation, I repeated softly. You mean not suing? That's correct. I accept, I said finally, as long as you confirm Rebecca no longer has legal tenancy, access, or authority over my unit. You have my word and a document to prove it. When I hung up, my hands were trembling. The apartment, my apartment, finally belonged to me again. Later that afternoon, I got the official letter. The subject line felt like an exhale I'd been holding for months. Tenancy. Status restored sole occupancy. I sat on the floor, reading it over and over until the words blurred. I cried, not loud, but the kind of quiet tears that feel like gravity leaving your chest. At dusk, there was a knock at my door. Rebecca. She looked smaller, hair disheveled, eyes red, no more pretense of control. In her hands, a cardboard box filled with the last of her things. Corporate said I have until tonight to remove everything, she said, her voice low. So, here I am. I didn't move. You can take your things. That's it. She walked past me, pausing by the living room window, the same spot where she'd taken those dating profile photos. She traced the brick wall with her fingertips, then turned. You ruined my life, you know. No, Rebecca, I said quietly. You did that yourself. I just stopped you from ruining mine. She laughed bitterly. You always thought you were the smart one, the responsible one. But you don't understand what it's like to be desperate. I do, I said. Desperation doesn't excuse deception. She opened her mouth, closed it, then looked down at the box. Those people I owe money to, they won't stop looking for me. That's not my problem anymore. Her eyes filled with something like regret, or maybe just exhaustion. You're my sister. I shook my head. You used to be. She stood there for a long moment, as if hoping I'd soften. But I didn't. Finally, she picked up her box and walked out without another word. The door closed. The latch clicked. And just like that, peace had a sound. For the first time in months, I could breathe without measuring each inhale against fear. I replaced every lock, installed a new alarm system, and even repainted the walls. The pale gray covered the scuffs, but it also covered her. Ethan came over that weekend, expecting celebration, but I wasn't in the mood for champagne. "She's gone," he said. "Yeah." "So why do you still look like you're waiting for her to come back?" "Because trauma doesn't leave just because the person does." "I need time," I said softly. He nodded. "Take it." A week later, I met with the prosecutor. The evidence Nolan gathered, combined with corporate's audit, was enough to build a case: forgery, identity theft, and fraud. I told them I wanted to proceed. Not out of revenge, but because if Rebecca didn't face consequences, she'd just find another victim. Mom called when she found out. Her voice trembled with denial. "Celia, she's still your sister. Family should forgive." "Family shouldn't have to survive each other," I said. There was silence, then a sigh. "You're harder than I remember." "No, Mom, I'm just done being soft where it hurts." Weeks passed. My credit score started recovering. The fraudulent cards were canceled. The PI sent one last report. Rebecca had left the state. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt stillness. Then one morning, as sunlight poured through the kitchen window, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk?" I stared at the words for a long time. They could have been sincere. They could have been bait. I didn't respond. I just blocked the number. Because some bridges, once burned, should never be rebuilt. Later that night, I opened the windows. The city air drifted in, cool, alive, untainted. I looked around at my apartment, the repaired lock, the clean desk, the calm silence. This was mine again, my peace, my proof that survival isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just locking the door behind you and knowing you finally can. I turned off the lights, whispered to the dark, "Home, finally home."